The sun slowly rose over a quiet little town, peaceful, ordinary, and untouched by the storms of human sorrow. Yet behind that stillness, a wave of fate was quietly gathering strength, ready to crash into the lives of those who least expected it. It was a warm Saturday morning. White roses lined the Grand Hotel stairs, their fragrance carried by the soft breeze. A sleek black limousine stood at the entrance, reflecting the golden light of dawn. Inside that hotel, a wedding was about to begin, a celebration that should have been about love and new beginnings. But this one carried something darker: pride, revenge, and the cruel intent to humiliate. The groom, Daniel, had sent one particular invitation not out of affection, but out of spite. He wanted his ex-wife, the woman who had once given up everything for him, to come and see how far he had come, how he had moved on, to a better life. In his mind, it was the perfect punishment, to make her feel forgotten, small, and unworthy. But life had its own plans, because the woman he thought he had broken would arrive not in tears or shame, but in grace and quiet power. When the limousine door opened, she stepped out, radiant and composed, holding the hands of 3 little girls whose faces reflected Daniel's own. Triplets, the daughters he had never met, whose smiles would silence the entire crowd. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that turn cruelty into redemption, then make sure to like this video, share it, and subscribe to heart-touching stories where real emotions speak louder than words. Her name was Emma, a gentle, hard-working woman who was often overlooked in a world obsessed with wealth and appearances. She had fallen deeply in love with Daniel when they were young, ignoring the cautious voices around her. With a heart full of hope, she poured her time, savings, and soul into building a future with him. Daniel came from a rich family, but he wanted more power, more success, more status. And Emma believed in him more than she believed in herself. She worked endless hours, waiting tables by day, cleaning offices by night, just to make sure Daniel could chase his dreams. But when success finally smiled on him, Daniel's heart changed. Wealth filled the spaces where love once lived. The man who once held her hand began to see her as a burden, a reminder of his humble beginnings. Then, one cold morning, Daniel filed for divorce, without hesitation, without remorse. He left Emma with nothing but an old car and a tiny apartment she could barely afford. Weeks later, still reeling from heartbreak, Emma discovered she was pregnant, not with 1 baby, but with 3. Triplets. Fear gripped her heart, but something deeper ignited, a flame of strength she never knew she had. She realized that though Daniel had abandoned her, she was not powerless. Those unborn children gave her purpose. She swore that no matter what it took, she would raise them with love, dignity, and courage. Years of struggle followed, days filled with double shifts, nights spent soothing crying babies, and countless moments of exhaustion. Yet through every hardship, Emma stood tall. Meanwhile, Daniel's star kept rising. He moved into elite circles, boasting about his wealth and pretending Emma never existed. To his friends, she was a mistake, a poor woman who had held him back. Then he met Sophia, a young woman from an influential family. Marrying her would cement his status, and so he planned the grandest wedding in town. But Daniel's ego still hungered for more, for validation. So, with arrogance and cruelty, he sent an invitation to Emma. He imagined her arriving in worn clothes, maybe on a bus, standing quietly in the back while he showcased his new life. It was his final act of mockery. What Daniel didn't know was that Emma's life had transformed. She had spent years rebuilding herself. Working at a small design studio, her creativity soon caught attention. Step by step, she built her own boutique, a modest shop that grew into a beloved brand known for elegance and originality. She never flaunted her success, but she had found stability and peace. Her triplets, now 6 years old, were the light of her life, bright, kind, and full of confidence. When the wedding invitation arrived, Emma almost threw it away. But then she remembered all the pain, the whispers, the pity she had endured. Attending that wedding wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity. She wanted to show her daughters that no one could define their worth but themselves. That morning glowed golden. Guests arrived in luxury cars, dressed in designer outfits. Cameras flashed, laughter filled the air, and Daniel stood proudly in his white tuxedo, the perfect image of success. Then, the sound of another limousine, The chatter faded. Heads turned. The chauffeur stepped out and opened the door. 3 little girls, dressed in matching yellow dresses, stepped onto the red carpet. Their curls bounced as they held hands, walking with innocence and confidence. And then, Emma appeared. She wore an emerald gown that shimmered softly in the sunlight. Her posture was graceful, her expression calm yet powerful. Every eye turned toward her. The murmurs grew louder. Daniel's smirk vanished. Sophia's smile faltered. Emma walked forward with quiet strength, holding her daughter's hands. Her presence alone was enough to silence the crowd. Daniel's heart pounded. Guilt flashed in his eyes, but pride kept him frozen. Whispers filled the room. People began connecting the dots. The triplets' resemblance to Daniel was undeniable. Emma didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her daughter's laughter spoke for her. Her dignity and grace said more than any revenge ever could. Sophia, radiant moments ago, shifted uneasily. No diamond on her hand could outshine the light in Emma's eyes. Guests began looking at Emma, not with pity, but with admiration. The ceremony went on, but the energy had shifted. Some guests approached Emma quietly, offering apologies with their eyes. Others simply smiled in awe. Emma sat through the vows without resentment. She didn't need to ruin the event. Her very existence was proof of her strength. By night's end, the only moment people remembered was Emma's arrival. That breathtaking entrance with her triplets. The photos captured everything: the shock on Daniel's face, the whispers among guests, and the glow of a woman who had risen above cruelty. In the days that followed, the town buzzed with stories. Daniel's arrogance became the subject of ridicule. His reputation faded as people saw the truth. Meanwhile, Emma's boutique flourished. People admired not just her designs, but her courage, her story. She became a quiet symbol of strength, proof that the best revenge is not anger or pride, but living a good life with grace. Emma had been broken once, but she rebuilt herself stronger. Not for revenge, not for applause, but for love. The love she carried for her daughters and for herself. Her children grew up proud of their mother's strength, not scarred by their father's absence. And as for Emma, she finally found peace. She realized that her pain had shaped her, but it never defined her. Because real success isn't measured by wealth, but by the ability to rise, forgive, and shine again. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Heart-Touching Stories. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world that kindness, dignity, and love will always outshine cruelty. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Emma's place? Sometimes your words may be the light someone else needs to hear.